VikesNow, Dustin Baker, the April 19th, Tuesday edition. The topic today, right down on the yellow bar, is the Vikings offseason departures. Some of you are cynical and don't think the Vikings have done a damn thing this offseason. It's more of the same of Rick Spielman's old roster. Arr. And I think you're just pissed because they didn't rebuild. And so you put a blanket statement over everything and saying it's the same roster. Well, it's not. And by the end of this 12-minute talk, you're going to realize that a lot of dudes have gone elsewhere or are in limbo. So this facade or this notion that it's just the same roster is false. They've added dudes. They've subtracted a lot of dudes. So get that out of the way. When you hear that talking point, that it's the same thing, I guess some of the core guys are the same. That's true. But a lot of men exited and a lot are in limbo. So let's get into them. There's a bunch. So I'll spend just a little half a minute on each so we can set the table and understand who the hell left the Minnesota Vikings from 2021 and will not be on the 2022 team. No particular order. These are just the ones I jotted them down. Xavier Woods, not Rhodes, Xavier Woods, the safety who came over from the Cowboys for 1 year, who I would say did a decent job. He had stretches. It was like, oh, let's lock this guy in for a long time. And then there were a couple games it was like, I don't know. Maybe we'll find something different next year. Well, we're going to find something different, and his name is probably Cameron Bynum, who made the most of his moment last year when Harrison Smith was out for a couple games. But Woods jettisoned to the Panthers, and he ain't coming back. He'll get a chance to audition for his third NFL team, and hopefully he does stupendous there outside of the times when the Vikings might lock horns with them. But Woods, gone. Next one was a little depressing, Mason Cole. That was quasi-disadvantageous because the dude was actually pretty good. He came in relief for, was it Bradbury, when Bradbury had COVID, was it? I think. And he looked pretty decent, and I think they slid him to right guard, and he didn't look like an imbecile. And we've been through a long litany list of imbeciles at right guard, maybe not personally, but their performance at times just get utterly dominated, and Cole wasn't one of those guys. He went to the Steelers, who were suddenly suspect with offensive line prowess, and now I bet you he starts there. And the Spielman trade for, I believe it was a 6th rounder to the Cardinals for Cole last year, probably a smart one. He's not going to play for the Vikings anymore either. The next one is probably the most depressing on the list. Hopefully I don't have to use that word too many times. Is Michael Pierce. Because here's the deal. Pierce was fantastic when he played, but he didn't play very much. He missed all of 2020 for asthma and COVID. Totally checks out. We get it. But then he got hurt. Was it a tricep last year? And tried to rush him back. And it was premature or just didn't work out. But the deal is on this son of a gun is he was marvelous when he was on the field. He was a big interior defensive lineman, a nose tackle that could also get to the quarterback. Thankfully, they got Harrison Phillips to ease the pain of his exodus and transition into a 3-4 defense. But the memory of Pierce is always going to be very weird because I think you love him. I certainly do. Sad to see him go back to the other purple team, but he couldn't stay on the field. And when the new general manager drops the word value in every sentence, a guy who can't play because of injury or his opt-out doesn't add up for the salary cap, especially one that's usually strapped, as Spielman has fostered year after year since about 2015. Pierce gone. Tyler Conklin. That one some folks lamented because he was a true Viking-looking dude with long hair, and when he, just like Cameron Bynum, when he got his chance, he made the most of it. Irv Smith was hurt after the preseason game in very mysterious fashion, just balled out the one source of offense during that preseason game against the Chiefs, gave a fabulous interview to somebody, and then the next morning we're like, oh, out for the season, torn meniscus. Like, you can't make this stuff up. But Conklin stepped in and was a formidable target for Cousins. What did he have? 600 yards, 700 yards, 500 yards? I can't remember what it was. But it was noteworthy for a TE1, and that's why he gets a nice little quasi-semi-handsome contract with the Jets for, was it $10 million or something like that? So, yeah, he'll go to the green team and see if he can effectuate what he did with the Vikings there. But that leaves this big hole at the Vikings tight end spot because you're, first of all, convincing yourself that finally Irv Smith's going to have a breakout year. We've been saying that every time at this year for 4 straight years. Hopefully he actually does and is utilized inside this O'Connell offense. But you don't have your safety blanket with Conklin because he's gone. So now you'll be relying on Johnny Munt and whoever they might draft in April's event here in about a week. So Conklin gone. Jeff Gladney. He was a departure from last year because when the assault charges that he allegedly hurt his girlfriend, beat her up or whatever, well, the Vikings didn't want much to do with that from a PR perspective, didn't want to wait for the wheels of justice to turn, so they saved face and cut him. He don't play here anymore. But he was exonerated in Texas, found not guilty of the assault thing, and now he plays for the Cardinals. 2-year deal with Arizona. They get a first-round draft pick from the 2020 draft. It wasn't too long ago. So, yes, that is the deal there with Gladney is, I don't know. I guess I won't say that the Vikings moved too fast to cut him because it sure seemed like a slam dunk deal that he did what he did. But I don't know. That's just me in South Dakota, and he's down in Texas. Thankfully for his sake, if you want to put it that way, he gets a second shot if indeed there was no smoke with that fire. But Gladney, a cornerback, a first-round corner, gone. In fairness, though, he was also gone last year, so that one doesn't hit too heavy. A couple more guys that are actually gone are Nick Vigil. Remember him in Week 2? He had the pick 6 against the Cardinals. Now he plays for the Cardinals. He's Gladney's teammate. Cat won't get enough of this. And so Vigil, I think in his first couple weeks, marvelous. What a fantastic addition to this Vikings roster. And then after that, no good. His Pro Football Focus score by the end of the year was in the 40s, I think. And, you know, no thanks. You ain't coming back. So he goes down to Arizona. I don't know if they'll start him. Probably not. If they just got rid of Jordan Hicks, who came to the Vikings, he'll probably be a situational type linebacker. Don't lament his exodus too much. He was good in spots, but on the whole, unless you think PFF is lying, he wasn't too good. And then Dakota Dozier. The Bears got a bulldozer, as they put it on Twitter for some reason. He's not coming back. He was with the Vikings since the start of the 2019 season. His resume is notorious. They tried to use this backup turnstile right guard as the solution, and it came with grave consequences between he and Drew and Samia. Well, now he plays for the Bears. And Ryan Pace, the offensive lineman-minded general manager there who was in the running for this team, he sees something in Dozier that we're getting it wrong, these Vikings fans. So we shall see if Dozier has a career reclamation, but I doubt it. After that, just a footnote for the official departures, Tashawn Bauer went to the Raiders. He's kind of a journeyman. He played for the Patriots. And then he signed, or I think he started with the Vikings, went to the Patriots, came back. After all, Everson Griffin last year was lost for the year, and then Danielle Hunter as well before that in Halloween. Bauer was brought in to rush the passer a little bit, never really got off the ground. I think he was a Zimmer guy, so to speak. So those are the guys that are flat out not coming back unless there's some crazy trade or they come back next year via free agency. Xavier Woods, Mason Cole, Michael Pierce, Tyler Conklin, Jeff Gladney, Nick Vigil, Dakota Dozier, and Tashawn Bauer. These are the guys that are in limbo, and probably serious limbo because the men that drafted these players, say it with me, they don't work here anymore. And this list is lengthy. So if Zimmer was still in town along with Spielman, I'd say about half of this list, these guys would be back because there was always the comfort level with your guys that you drafted, bring them back. And we just got used to that. But that doesn't happen everywhere, nor is it really going to happen anymore. The number one with the bullet is Anthony Barr. Ben Lieber told you on this show that he might have a suspect knee, that at age 30 has him contemplating hanging it up. 3-time Pro Bowler. If he does not come back to the Vikings, which I do not think that he will, what a completely linked player to the Mike Zimmer era. This dude was Zimmer's first pick, stayed with them until Zimmer was fired. Evidently, Barr isn't coming back. Zadarius Smith is touting number 55 number, so that number's spoken for 2022. But Barr and Zimmer will forever, if you study this Viking stuff like I do, and I'm pretty sure you do if you're watching shows like this, it's Barr and Zimmer, like two guys attached at the hip. They arrived on the same day, so to speak, and they got the hell out of Dodge in the same time frame. So don't expect Barr to be back. He's in serious limbo. Perhaps he'll end up with the Jets, where he almost went a couple years ago. Everson Griffin. I don't think he's coming back. Ben Lieber had him on a podcast yesterday, or at least it was released yesterday, and it kind of indicated he's not sure if he's going to play again because for most, of course, the mental health aspect has to be right for him to return to the game, and we shall see. But Everson Griffin is one that I spitball could end up with the Giants because of the ties to Andre Patterson, who is now the defensive line coach in New York, if indeed Everson goes anywhere. The next one I'll always lament. My goodness. Sheldon Richardson, he's in limbo. I doubt with Armin Watts, Dalvin Tomlinson, Harrison Phillips, whoever they might draft in a week, I doubt Sheldon Richardson's coming back. But that poor guy, he was sold a sales pitch 2 times, separate times, from the same guys in 2018 and 2021. Spielman probably picked up the phone and was like, yo, homie, we got a Super Bowl contending team. And he's like, all right, I'm on the way. And he gets there, and the sons of bitches go 8-9 or 8-7-1 or some bullshit like that. And, Sheldon Richardson's a pretty darn good football player and was probably hoodwinked twice by the purple and yellow team. I doubt he comes back. This one is nearly for certain not coming back because I'm pretty sure they said he's not, is Mackenzie Alexander. He was a second-rounder drafted by the Vikes in 2016, I believe. And he had some good moments, and then last year started off okay. And then all of a sudden you go check PFF on a random day in March or April, and he was down at he's at the very bottom of the list, the worst cornerback in football. And somebody said, I don't know if it was Chris Thomason, who will be on this show in a couple days, somebody said that they're not bringing him back. And it was a credible person, especially if it was Thomason. So Mackenzie Alexander, he ain't coming home. Rashad Hill, that guy played for this team for a very long time in a very unsung way. The backup offensive lineman, they tried to force him into a starter at times. He ain't that good. Kind of a moral of this chat. He's in limbo. Unlikely he's coming back to Minneapolis. Chris Herndon. He was traded for by the aforementioned Spielman for a 4th-round pick from the New York Jets to be a TE2, but in reality, really just some quasi-TE3 who scored a touchdown. It was your quintessential panic trade. The people that said so as such were correct at the time. I wanted to wait and see, but those people were correct. Herndon was a waste. I don't know where he'll sign on again. He's still pretty young, but I guess in theory, could come back, but that's probably a Spielman mistake that they're ready to move on. D.D. Westbrook, remember the hype around him coming to the Vikings late summer 2021? He had like the Instagram shot from his airplane saying, coming to Egan, baby. And it was a pretty decent special teams dude. I think he caught a couple passes. I really thought he would do what KJ Osborne did last year, and that was seize the WR3 job, because Westbrook has a credo of doing that with Jacksonville. Not a very upper echelon franchise, but especially with Keenan McCardle in the house, the one coach that was retained by Kevin O'Connell for this staff. I thought Westbrook last year would instantly become the WR3 that we have all craved since the departure of Jarius Wright. He did not, but nobody cared because KJ Osborne's becoming that guy in an unforeseen way. I will say it again, I've said it before on this show, that the way KJ Osborne rose to power within the Vikings organization to grab the WR3 job is something you should always remember, because at this time last year, you had no clue he was going to do that, nor did I. And then bada bing, he just does it at training camp, shows out on the field, 700 receiving yards, 7 touchdowns. Nick Olson talked about it on here. A glorious WR3 season. So I thought Westbrook would be what Osborne ultimately was. And voila, Westbrook is a free agent now, probably not coming back to the Vikings. Chad Bibi, hometown favorite. I don't know why. I think it's because fans like the sons of former football players, Don Bibi. Bibi is a free agent. Probably a Zimmer thing, Spielman thing, because he hasn't signed back. I don't know what his health is like. But yeah, he was almost the Vikings WR3 for a while in 2020. Remember that sweet game where he had the fumble? Was it against the Panthers or Jaguars or Panthers? I think it was Panthers. He had the fumble, and it looked like the game was kaput. And then he caught the game-winning touchdown. That was what redemption in sports is all about, because the dude made amends within like 10 minutes of real time. That was pretty awesome. But He isn't as good as gone as like Mackenzie Alexander. He in theory could come back, but then you have to ask yourself, in an O'Connell offense that actually promotes offense and not like the Zimmer was like, yeah, go out there, score 20 points, and then we'll go home. I don't know how dynamic Chad Bibi could be. We shall see. And finally, just these complete footnotes. Wayne Gallman, he was signed, I think, when we were down to Nubbins at running back last year. Who knows where he'll go. And then Luke Stalker. I doubt he's on the platter for the 2022 Vikings. So from head to toe, let's run them down. As I've said multiple times, I'm not cool enough to put the text of this stuff on the bottom ticker there. I could, but I'd be sitting here typing during the show. Xavier Woods, Mason Cole, Michael Pierce, Tyler Conklin, Jeff Gladney, Nick Vigil, Dakota Dozier, Tashawn Bauer. Gone, ain't coming back. In total limbo, some of them are as good as gone. Anthony Barr, Everson Griffin, Sheldon Richardson, Mackenzie Alexander, Rashad Hill, Chris Herndon, D.D. Westbrook, Chad Bibi, Wayne Gallman, Luke Stalker. So that's a lot of dudes, for better or worse, are going elsewhere. So don't pretend like this offseason has just been bringing back all the same guys, because there's been turnover, and some of those dudes in the good as gone category were notable. Conklin, Pierce, Woods, starting safety. Tomorrow, I will have Josh Foray. We're talking predominantly about the draft. The day after that, Chris Thomason comes on to talk about a little bit about the draft, a little bit about the 2022 roster. And then Aaron Rufer, an excellent Vikings mind, a popular dude in social media. Check him out. That's all I got for the Tuesday edition, and Skol, baby.